The morning of choice, law, death. Consulting with one's own death. Acting today as if it were our last day. Living is the rarest thing in the world. Many people just exist. Oscar Wilde. We rarely reflect on what truly matters in life. Unfortunately, most of the time we go around in circles, doing the same things day after day. If we cannot determine what is important and what is not, our lives become a destructive routine. At some point, we realize that we have missed out on much and cannot achieve it anymore, as time is irreversible and many opportunities are forever lost. We rarely ask ourselves, would I have spent today the way I did if I knew it was my last? Perhaps because not all of us are sure that the answer would be yes. Moreover, the phrase "live each day as if it were your last" is often associated with something frivolous or irresponsible. Living each day as if it were your last does not mean being reckless. It means living with an understanding of what truly matters to us. As the great genius Albert Einstein said, "There are two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Fear God, death at the threshold." And as Steve Jobs did, who had his own way of understanding whether he was living the present correctly. Every morning he looked in the mirror and asked himself if he would want to do what he was doing if that day were his last. If his answer was no for several days in a row, it was a signal that urgent changes were needed. One could say that Steve Jobs truly lived by consulting with death, i.e., here and now, perceiving each day as the most important in life, trying to live it as fully and richly as possible. Each of his successful ventures was merely a prologue to the next projects, which seemed almost fantastical to most people. "For me," he once remarked in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, "it doesn't matter to be the richest man in the cemetery." He continued, "What matters is going to bed and thinking that you've done something wonderful today." This interview took place in 1993. At that time, Jobs was still unaware of his illness. But even then, each day for him was a precious unit of time and a reason to make the world a better place. This earthly life is the only one we have, and the end of the event is not announced in advance, and there is no talk of a second chance or bonus game. Memento mori, remember death, says the Latin proverb. Life is short, but glory can be eternal, said the famous Roman orator Cicero. Remembering the limit of existence, we should strive to make every moment meaningful. The advice to remember death does not imply living in constant fear of it. But as long as we are alive, our hearts should be filled with feelings of kindness, joy, and gratitude for each day lived. As the famous American health advocate Paul Bragg said, "Youth is preparation for old age, and life is preparation for death." Personally, the thought of death is very distant for me. I think only in terms of life. I believe that every night when we go to sleep, we die, and when we wake up in the morning, we start a new life. I do this every day, as much as possible. Pull the load until the grave is dug. Death removes the insignificant and thus facilitates the liberation of the spirit from its finiteness and division, as well as the spiritual reconciliation of the subject with the Absolute. George Hegel. Old age and death are the logical culmination and end of any life, whether prolonged, active, and full, or wasted. However, one should not live in constant fear of death, as it will inevitably come to every living being sooner or later. In biology, there are countless theories of aging, but most researchers eventually conclude that the cause of death in early years is often the individual himself and his attitude towards life. Today, no one denies that negative emotions have a powerful destructive force on the body, just as the absence of life goals, aspirations, and desires does. Conversely, positive emotions and a positive attitude towards life contribute to a long and fulfilling life. Physiologists assert that among the factors reducing the speed of aging, a healthy lifestyle is of enormous importance, based on maintaining physical fitness and the activity of the body's nervous system. It is known that about 80% of human genetic information works for the nervous system, providing an effective mechanism for managing all bodily systems. The nervous system is the central apparatus regulating all body functions. As long as a person lives and fully utilizes all the capabilities of his nervous system, headed by the brain will keep the whole body in tone and functional activity. As soon as a person stops developing, both intellectually and physically, death soon follows. Oh hi, not oh hi, but drive until you drop, i.e., until death. While we postpone life, it passes. Seneca. But no matter how much we maintain ourselves and our bodies in a high-functioning state, we never know which day will be our last. Therefore, we should seize the day, carpe diem, as the ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus suggested. According to him, happiness can be achieved in the following way: get used to thinking that death is nothing to us, since all good and bad consists in sensation, and death is the deprivation of sensation. Based on this, Epicurus created his philosophy, which taught finding true pleasure in every moment of life, treating each day lived as a gift to be valued and enjoyed. The outstanding ancient Roman philosopher and statesman Seneca advised his friend, "Take back your time for yourself, save and accumulate the time that was previously taken from you or stolen, which was wasted. See for yourself that I speak the truth, part of our time is taken by force, part is stolen, and part slips away uselessly. But the most disgraceful loss is due to our own negligence. Look more closely, for we spend the most time on bad things, a considerable amount on idleness, and all our life on things that are not necessary. Will you point out someone who valued time, who knew the worth of a day, who understood that he dies with each passing hour? That is our trouble. We see death ahead of us, but most of it is behind us, for the years of life that have passed all belong to death. Therefore, do not squander it uselessly, and especially do not let others waste your life. Death is the end of the life deposit that we must manage to realize. By remembering death and perceiving it as the only real end, we free ourselves from the illusory barriers that often seem insurmountable. Fears, uncertainty, the sense of limited opportunities all retreat before the single, truly insurmountable factor: death. If you love life, do not waste time, for life is made of time. Benjamin Franklin. A glorious death is better than a shameful life. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted. Ecclesiastes 3:1-2, says the biblical book of Ecclesiastes. In Christianity, death is perceived as a constant reminder of the need for improvement to enter the kingdom of heaven. With every person, the thought of death is inseparable. But unbelievers use it badly, lamenting only the separation from the pleasures of life. Believers use it as a means and a remedy for shameful passions. A good teacher for both body and soul is the unforgettable memory of death. Saint Nilus of Sinai wrote, "Always expect, but do not fear death." Both are true traits of wisdom. If you desire true life, always expect human death, because the memory of death is the main driver of a person towards his moral maxim. Metropolitan Anthony of Sauros, esteemed among the Orthodox, described very concisely the sense of the value of the moment to be achieved by remembering death. Days are treacherous, time is deceptive. And when it is said that we must remember death, it is said so that we live with all the intensity that we could have if we realized that every moment is unique for us, and every moment, every instant of our life must be perfect, must be a peak of the wave, not a defeat, but a victory. And when I speak of defeat and victory, I mean internal formation, growth, the ability to be in perfection and fullness of everything we are at that moment. According to Islam, believers should avoid empty and useless actions, not waste time. They should do only what brings them closer to the ultimate goal, paradise. Indeed, those who disbelieve in the hereafter are deviating from the path. Quran 23:74. For realizing one's goals and calling, death is the best advisor. Knowing that his time is limited, a person does not waste time on nonsense but concentrates on what is essential and necessary. This important understanding brings a Muslim closer to the Almighty and strengthens his faith. For a believer, it is important not only to sift the necessary from the flow of events but also to learn to be fully present in each moment. By living each day as if it were his last, a person only does what is truly important. A good criterion for evaluating one's deeds for a Muslim may be the concept of the Day of Judgment, the scales of deeds. This will facilitate the choice and guide a person towards performing good deeds. Here is the translation of the text into English. This will facilitate choice and guide a person towards performing good deeds. Furthermore, by providing a daily report of the lived experience, a Muslim can more easily focus on the central goals of life. Some people are enchanted by earthly life, / some turn to dreams of another life. / death is a wall. And in life, no one will learn / the higher truth hidden behind this wall. Omar Khayyam. You cannot die before death. Those who have the most valuable lives fear death the least. Immanuel Kant. According to Buddhism, death is not only natural, but also desirable. One who experiences the truth and strives for the absolute must, by Buddha's guidance, eliminate all emotional feelings, colors, and smells of the earth. That is why death is a step towards the ideal. However, death does not guarantee the achievement of the absolute, as the afterlife of a person is subject to their earthly life. After death, a person may face three types of fate: immediate rebirth, the so-called reincarnation, samsara, going to hell, before being reborn in a new body, or entering nirvana. At death, the soul dissolves into its components, but in subsequent incarnations, they are rejoined in a certain manner, preserving the unity of the soul. The proper assembly ensures the continuity of personal existence, regardless of the physical shell acquired after each transformation. Therefore, remembering death for a Buddhist is a specific spiritual practice that urges a person to strive for the ideal through asceticism and self-improvement in earthly life. Life itself will not conquer death. But a life full of meaning, of divine meaning, is capable of overcoming death, according to Judaism. This is the essence of the Torah's view on death. Judaism does not see death as a final destination. It also does not idealize death, which remains an aberration from the norm, a result of the sin of the tree of knowledge. The Torah views this world as dark and cruel, but only on the surface. Within it, there are vast reserves of spiritual energy that must be released by our daily deeds, mitzvot, transforming this world into a spiritually filled place. Sins and evil in the world temporarily obscure hidden sparks and ultimately lead to death, a temporary separation between body and soul, which is eternal and lives even after death. But through connection with God and by efforts to purify matter and reveal divine energy through actions and thoughts, the believer prepares the universe for its ultimate experience when death will no longer exist, and the body will be reunited forever with the soul. Therefore, for a Jew, every day lived is infinitely important because his path to God is made up of small deeds and triumphs today. On people and death are beautiful. Any life well lived is a long life. Leonardo da Vinci. Before death, you cannot deceive. Psychologists have recognized the syndrome of deferred life as a disease, a neurosis. This term was proposed by Doctor of Psychological Sciences Vladimir Serkin. The syndrome was described as early as the 19th century by the famous writer Rudyard Kipling. Describing the lives of English colonists, he noted that their lives seemed like a rehearsal. They lived in constant anticipation of a wonderful time when, successful and wealthy, they would return home and live fully. Time passed, colonists grew old, and they no longer had the strength to return to their homeland, dying in foreign lands without ever living as they had planned. The main difference between healthy people and those suffering from neurosis is that the former address problems as they arise, fulfilling desires as they come, acting according to the principle of aimed done. Neurotics, on the other hand, postpone all their actions, finding 1,000,001 reasons why it is impossible to do it at the moment. Universal practices and rules for dealing with this problem have been described multiple times by psychologists and coaches. They all converge on several fundamental points. From the first moment of life, one must learn to be worthy of living. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Better to die on the field than face shame in captivity. Courage is not afraid of death. 1. Find the strength within to express to people what we truly feel. 2. Strive to do what we do in the best possible way and enjoy the results. 3. Tell people who mean a lot to us how important they are. 4. Try to do what is important. Stop for a moment and figure out why we are so busy. Reflect on whether we are wasting a lot of time on trivial matters that drain our energy. Perhaps by filtering out what is secondary, we will find time for significant things. 5. Do what we have long wanted to do but hesitated to start. Unfortunately, we have a limited amount of time, and we don't know how much we actually have. Don't put things off, find the time and strength to do them. 6. Enjoy today. Look for miracles and pleasant moments. It doesn't matter if it's raining or the wind is howling outside. Don't miss the chance to enjoy today. 7. Try to do a good deed. Acts of kindness always bring joy to the one who performs them. 8. Do something completely new. Life is full of adventures. Try to step outside the ordinary. We are likely to discover new, amazing sides of ourselves. 9. Understand that life is not endless. The importance of realizing the finitude of our life and not thinking that eternal health and limitless opportunities are always guaranteed is illustrated by the Brothers Grimm fairy tale The Death's Messengers. In ancient times, a giant was walking along a great road when suddenly a stranger jumped out and shouted, "He who has not seen death before him, has not tasted complete joy and is not worthy of the kisses of dear wives." Alexander Pushkin. In joyful hours, death is not frightening. Stop. Not another step. "Oh," said the giant, "you are just a little bug, I could crush you with my finger. How dare you block my way? Who are you to speak so boldly?" "I am death," replied the stranger, "no one can stand against me. You too must obey my commands." But the giant refused and engaged in a long, fierce struggle with death. Finally, the giant prevailed, knocking death to the ground by the roadside. Death lay there, defeated and so powerless that it could not even stand up. "What will happen," said Death, "if I stay here without help? No one will die in the world, and it will become so crowded that there will not be enough room for a person to stand next to another. At that time, a young man passed by, healthy and strong, singing a song and looking around. He saw the barely alive, helpless stranger, took pity on him, approached him, lifted him up, poured some wine from his flask into his mouth, and waited for him to recover. "Do you know," asked the stranger as he got up, "who I am, to whom you have helped stand up?" "No," replied the young man, "I do not know you." "I am Death," said the stranger, "I spare no one, and I will not make an exception for you. But to let you know that I am grateful to you, I promise that I will not come for you suddenly but will send my messengers to you first." A living person thinking about death. Life is eternity, death is just a moment. M.U. Lermontov. Do the worldly, but remember death. Do not fear death, then you will probably conquer it. Two deaths do not occur, and one cannot be avoided. A.V. Suvorov. "All right," said the young man, "it is better if I know when you will come, at least I will be able to be on guard." He went on his way, cheerful and lively, living carefreely. But youth and health did not last long. Soon, illnesses and various sufferings appeared, tormenting him every day and not allowing him to sleep peacefully at night. "Now I will not die," he said to himself, "for death will send messengers first, and I would like only one thing, to have the gloomy days of illness pass quickly." And as soon as he felt healthy again, he began to live as before, for his own pleasure. But someone tapped him on the shoulder one day. He turned around and saw Death standing behind him, saying, "Follow me, it is time to say goodbye to life." "How?" said the man. "You are going to break your promise. Did you not promise to send your messengers to me before you came yourself?" "I have not seen any of them." "Be silent," replied Death. "Did I not send messengers to you one after another? Did not fever come to you, attack you, shake you, and throw you into bed? Did not dizziness come to you? Did not all your bones ache? Did not noise ring in your ears? Did not toothache torment you? Did not your vision darken? And did not every night remind you of me in dreams, my dear brother? Did you not lie at night as if completely dead?" And the man had nothing to say in reply. He resigned himself to his fate and followed death. Death is a profoundly serious aspect of existence, nourishing art, poetry, and literature, providing them with themes and momentum. It is what imparts a poignant emotion to the universal history and its endless dramas. By remembering death, we should approach the time allotted to us with awareness, reclaiming each day from death to make the most of its opportunities. Just as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart completed his Requiem in his agony, or Rembrandt, whose talent ascended to its peak before death with his masterpiece The Return of the Prodigal Son, or the writer Mikhail Bulgakov, who crowned his life with the genius novel The Master and Margarita. Fear of death means not living in this world. Life is good, especially at the end, / whether in the rain and with not a penny to your name, / whether on Judgment Day with a needle in your throat. Arseny Tarkovsky. Oh, woe, while God endures. Patriarch Athenagoras of Constantinople spoke very clearly and with almost Hellenic dignity about death: "I would not like to die suddenly. I need to be ill for a few weeks to prepare. Not too long, so as not to burden others. Here comes death. I see it descending the hill, climbing the stairs, entering the corridor. It knocks on the door of my room. And I have no fear, I am waiting for it, and I say, 'Come in.' But let us not move right away. You are my guest. Sit for a moment. I am ready. And then let it take me to the mercy of God." Death is near, walking among us every day, like in medieval paintings of the dance of death, an allegorical theme intended to remind people of the frailty of human existence. Therefore, we must live, not merely plan to do so, not wait for some other right life when everything is finished and money is saved, but value every moment of existence right now. Embark on that long-planned journey, confess your love, leave a job you dislike. Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans, John Lennon sang to his son Sean before he was shot. Indeed. Postponing life means postponing your luck and well-being, the love of loved ones, the support of friends. Remembering what is truly valuable and important must be done in every moment of your life. Many pleasures will be unnecessary later. If you have a dream, realize it now. And Venice now. To see it with wide open eyes, not in snippets while lifting your head from work correspondence on WhatsApp, or through a phone camera. Who needs those photos? When will we look at them? Investing everything in the future is pointless, as that future might simply not exist. Memento mori. Awareness of death teaches life to be lived quickly and meaningfully. As American comedian, actor, and writer George Carlin said, "Live as if this day is your last, and one day it will be. And you'll be ready. Live as if this day is your last, and one day it will be. And you'll be ready." George Carlin. Good deeds live on even after death. Let pain have its way, and you'll die before your time. A living person does not seek death. Better death than disgrace.